The link to the Udemy course is in the description below. Hello and welcome. So in this lecture, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you guys how you can actually create this Busbar Support Rail System. So it's not quite difficult to create it, it's quite easy. And I'm going to create it purely from basics. Basically what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use a macros project to create it. And then I'm going to download a step file from Rittal. And then I'm going to import that step file into EPLAN. And then I'm going to create a macro for the Busbar support. And then I'm going to create all these different parts. So I'm going to create the rail, I'm going to create the support, and I'm going to create the system itself. So what I'm going to do first is I need to go to Rittal. And right here underneath the Rittal, what I need to do is that I need to download the Busbar support. So I need to download the step file for the Busbar support. And to download the step file for the Busbar support, you need to scroll down here to CAD. And then underneath CAD, on your right side, you have the level of details. For the level of detail, I'm going to put it on high. And then right here, what I need to do is I need to scroll down till I find step. So till I find where it says step. And then right there, you have step AP203, which is not a problem. And then I'm going to request for the download. And then after saying request for the download, what happens is that Rittal will give me this option to now download it. So I'm going to download it. And after that, I'm going to just go back to EPLAN. And then I'm going to import it into my EPLAN. So to import it, I'll just make sure that I'm standing on the macros project. So I'm in the macros project, as you can see at the top there. Then I'm going to go to File. Then I'm going to go to Import. And right here underneath Import, underneath Project Data, I'm going to go to Layout Space. And then I'm going to select Step. So I'm not going to select Design Space, but I'm going to select Step. And then right here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to Downloads. And then underneath Downloads, I'm going to import this one, which is this one right here. So you can see also the part number matches with the file name. So that's the one I'm going to import. And I'm going to say Open. And now what happens is that EPLAN will generate a layout space for this step file. And once the layout space has been generated for the step file, you can now see it like this. And if I go underneath my layout space navigator, you can see it underneath number 1. What happens now is that we have different logic items. So basically, this step file has different sections to it. So it has these, it has that, it has these, and it also has that. Just like an enclosure, you would find that an enclosure, it has that, and it also has the mounting panel, has the doors, the roof, the floor, and so forth. So this also step file has different logic items. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select all of it. And then I'm going to go underneath Edit. So I'll go underneath Edit. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to click on Unite. And therefore now I'm going to unite this whole item so that it becomes one logic item. So all these components that you see here, I'm going to make sure that they all one item. So once I've clicked on Unite, you will see this orange cube coming up. I'm just going to click somewhere in our layout space. So I'll click there, not a problem. And what you should see it being united like that. So now it becomes one logic item. And then what follows after that is the basics, which is now having to define the placement area. So now you need to define the placement area. Placement area is basically where it makes contact with the mounting plate. And for this item, for this Busbar support, it makes contact with the mounting panel right there. So I'm going to define it as this position and not that one, but this one. So I'll define it like that and it will look like this. So basically, if I go to View and I go to the SE isometric, you can actually see this is the SE isometric for this component. But what I want to do is that I want to have it facing from the right side down to the left side. So to do that, what I need to do is that I need to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it by minus 90 degree. So to rotate it by minus 90 degree, I'm going to just select it. And then after that, I'm going to go to Insect. And right here underneath Insect, we have this command group called Placement Area. I'm going to click on Rotate. And once I've clicked on Rotate, what happens now is that EPLAN is asking me to select the rotating angle. So I'm going to say the rotating angle is minus 90 degree. So I'll just click minus 90 degree on my keyboard. And after that, I'm going to press enter. And right there, you will see it going from the right side, top right, to the bottom left. So this is how I want it. And therefore, now I need to add my handle. So now underneath mounting aids, I need to add a handle. And the handle is basically where I'll first make contact with this one. If I move it, that's the first point which I'll actually make contact with. So now what I need to do, I need to add the handle. It does have by default these blue handles, but I'm going to add a default one. So I'm going to click on handle and I'll add it right here. So it's not necessary for you to press Ctrl and center it exactly in the middle, because this busbar support, it's not mounted on a DIN rail. Usually we do that when we mount it on a DIN rail. When we mount a component on a DIN rail, we would actually click Ctrl, click here, and then also click at the top, then it will center it automatically. But because this item is not mounted on a DIN rail, what happens is that it's mounted on a mounting plate. So I'm going to select this one as my handle. So this blue one that's more to the left, I'm going to select that one as my handle. So that's my defined handle, and I'll have it like that. So this is how it looks like. And then if I go to view and I go to this isometric view, you should see it like that. And then next, what happens is that we need to define where we want to save it. So before we generate it, we need to define where we want to save this new macro that we are about to create. So what I need to do, I need to go to my layout space navigator underneath my macros project, where it says 1, because currently the name of it is 1. I need to change the name of it and also define the location where I want to save it. So I'm actually going to click here and I'm going to go to properties. And then once we've selected properties, you can see this window coming up like this. So with this window, what I need to do, I need to give my layout space a name. So I'm going to give my layout space a name as the same as the part number. So I'm going to give it that. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove that dot there. And then next, I'm going to just copy that. And now what I need to do is that I need to save the path where I want this macro to be at. So the path will actually be selected from this area right now. So if you don't have this area showing, so basically maybe you have it like this, what you need to do, you need to click on that plus sign and then search for macro. And once you've searched for macro, you can see that macro name appears there. So I'm going to select macro name, say OK, and then I'm going to select the path that I wanted to be saved at, and the path that I wanted to be saved at will be underneath Rittal, and I'll just save it here. And then after that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add just an underscore 3D. The reason why for adding underscore 3D is just to separate this macro from the 2D macros. So with that underscore 3D, we can actually know that it's a 3D macro and it's not a 2D macro. And after that, I'm going to just say open. And now what happens is that EPLAN has now defined the path where this macro that we are about to create will be saved at. So in case if we need it in the future, we know that it's saved underneath Rittal, and that's the name for it. So once that is done, we're going to say OK. And right there underneath layout space navigator, you can see that the name that we just gave it, EPLAN has applied it. So the name of our layout space, it's no longer 1, but it's actually the part number, which is this one right here. So now what I need to do is that I need to generate this macro. So now it's almost done. What I need to do, I need to go to master data. And right here underneath master data, what I need to do is that I need to say generate automatically. So I need to select only this one because these ones were previously generated before. So I'm going to select only this one, and then I'm going to say generate automatically. And once I've said generate automatically, this window opens up and you can see what EPLAN is about to generate. It's only this layout space. So it's not generating the other ones, which is the contactor and the auxiliary switch, but it's only generating for the busbar support from Rittal. So once that is done, I'm not going to say apply to the whole project. I'm going to say if ever there is an existing one, just overwrite it. Usually, sometimes maybe the handle was not placed at the proper position, so it does exist, but you maybe change the handle so that it sits at another position. Now you want to overwrite the one that previously existed. So I'm going to say overwrite if there is one that exists, and I'm going to say okay. And right there, EPLAN has now generated a macro from the step file. So now it is ready to be used. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create parts that don't exist. So to create these parts, I'm going to have to go underneath my master data. And then right here underneath master data, I'm going to go to parts. And I'm going to go to mechanics because this is a mechanic item. And after going to mechanics, I'm going to go to busbar because this is a busbar. And the first one that I'm going to create will be for the rail. So I'll open the rail section and I'll create a new part. So I'm not going to click under Ariflex or under Rittal, but I'm going to click for a new part and it will be a new component. And right there you can see that it's creating a new component and the name of it, it's new, but I'm going to change it and I'll label it as Udemy. And I'll say it's a rail and I'll say underscore 3-phase. And then I'll just copy that name and I'll give it the same name for the type number. And I'll just say the manufacturer is Udemy. And then for this one, what I'm going to do is that because it's a rail, so basically the rail in this situation, it's one of these bars right here. So I'm creating one of these bars right here. And the one that I'm going to create will be this one right here. So I'll create this one, which is a 15 by 10, but I'm not creating it using the same name as Rittal. So I'm going to call it a Udemy rail underscore 3F. So I'm going to create it with the same size, which is a 15 and which is also a 10. And if you just open it, you can see that the delivery length is also stated here. So the delivery length is stated as 2.4 meters. So we need to make sure that we also include 2.4 meters. The height, I'm not going to include the height because the height does have a conflict with the delivery length. So I'm going to just include the width, and the width will be 15. And then I'm going to include the depth. The depth will be 10. And then I'll scroll a little bit down till I find delivery length. So the delivery length will be 2,400. So you shouldn't say 2.4 meters, but you should use millimeters, which is 2,400. And then after that, my part is done for the rail. And what's next? I need to do for the support. So the support is just the one that we generated. That's the one that appears here on our layout space navigator. So we just generated the macro for it. So we need to add it now in EPLAN. So I'm going to go underneath support. And if I go here underneath support, you can see actually we need to create a new part. So it will be a new component. And after that, I'm going to change the name for it. So this new component, I'm going to call it Udemy. And I'll call it support because it's under support. And I'll say underscore 3F. And I'll just copy that name. And I'll just paste it under type number. And then for manufacturer, just for separation purposes, I'll just call it Udemy. And then what's next is that I need to add the graphical macro that we just created. So we need to add it underneath graphical macro. So I need to search that path. So I'm going to click my file there. And right here, I need to select where it's located. So I know that it's located underneath Rittal. And right there, you can see it. So if I look at my graphical preview, I can actually see it on my graphical preview. So that's the one I'm going to open. So I'll click on open. And right there, we're done with this one. So what's next? We need to create the system. Now we need to actually combine this rail that we created. So we need to combine this. And we also need to combine the support. So that's what we need to do now. They are currently apart, but we need to combine them. So to combine them, we need to go underneath support. And right here underneath support, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new part, which will be a new component. And once a new component is created like that, I'm going to just change the name. So I'm going to call it Udemy, and I'm going to call it system, and I'm going to call it _3F. Copy that, give it to the type number as well. And then for the manufacturer, I'm going to just call it Udemy. So that will be my manufacturer, which is Udemy. And then what I need to do, I need to scroll a little bit down till I get to this area right here. So till I get to this area right here, that's where I need to scroll to. So the first one that I'm going to do is that I'm going to say the number of rails. I'm going to say the number of rails is 3. So basically, if I look at this part right here, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3. So it supports 3 copper bars. So if you can see right here, these copper bars, they need to fit in here, and it's 3 of them. So I'm going to say here it's 3. And then the spacing, basically the spacing, as you can see, it's also defined underneath product description. They do define that the spacing is 60. So I'm going to say the spacing is indeed 60. And then right here, what happens is that they're asking for the distance between the rail and the mounting panel. So if I go back onto the internet and I look here, so basically they're asking the distance from this area to this area right here. So you can see 40, it's more to the middle of this area. So I'm going to select 30 as the bottom of this area. Not 40, because 40 is more or less the middle. So I'm going to select 30. I'm going to go there, say it's 30. And then what's next? What's next is that right here, they're asking you for the part number for the support. So the support that we created, the macro for, they're asking the part number for that. And that one will actually just click on the 3 dots. And then I'll search it underneath EPLAN, and that will be Udemy support. And if I just click enter there, we should be able to find it. And right there, EPLAN has found it. So that's the one we're going to select, and we're going to say OK. And now that should be fine like that. The part variant will be 1, and we are happy with that section. And now what we need to do is that we need to add the copper bar. So basically the copper bar that's here, we need to add that as well. We have added the support. We need to add the copper bar. And for the copper bar will be this busbar part number. So right here, what we need to do, we need to search for Udemy Rail _3D. So I'm going to say Udemy Rail, and I'll let EPLAN search that. And once EPLAN has found Udemy Rail _3F, I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to say OK, and it should come up there. So it should come up like that, and I'm happy with that. And I believe that our rail system is now complete. So now we're going to be able to use it. So I'm going to just copy this name. I'll copy it so that I can use Insect Center to search for it. And then I'm going to say apply. And then I'm going to say close. And then for this one, yes, I'm going to synchronize the parts data. And after that, I'm going to go back to my enclosure. So I'm going to go back to this enclosure right there. And what I want to do is that I want to go to view, and I just want to remove those arrows that are pointing in different directions. So I want to see something as clean as this one. And then I want to use my Insect Center to include this new rail system that we have. So this new busbar support system, we're going to enter it using Insect Center. And once Insect Center is open like that, I'm going to just paste this Udemy system _3F, and I'm going to let EPLAN search for that part. And there you go. EPLAN has found that part, and it's this one right here. And now I'm going to take it from here, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to include it onto this user-defined mounting panel. And right there, you can actually see the system that we created. So you can see the system that we created. It looks like that. And now we can actually add it like this, add it to there. And then once we left click, what happens is that EPLAN now asks us how many number of supports do we want to have? So if you can see this one, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can actually say this one should also have 6. And if I say okay, you will see that 6 coming up for this one. So you can see that 6 coming up like that. So that's how you can create this Busbar Rail Support System. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next lecture.